Hey, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another episode of My Two Satoshis. It is May 21st, 2019. Shout out to my man Bo Hoffman for this song request. Bo, what do you know about Too Short? Too Short, getting it in, classic right here, album number 10. Man, I haven't heard this in so long. I have now added it to my queue. I'm going to be bumping this around the city now. Thanks, Bo, for the song request. Good to hear some old school hip hop again. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to another episode of My Two Satoshis. Today, we're going to look at a rapper has been caught up in this whole FLiK ICO. Not sure if you guys remember FLiK. That's FLiK. And if I recall, I talked about FLiK for a second there. It was interesting because they were trying to kind of, cut the middleman out of the entertainment business. That's a big no-no. The entertainment business is just as bad as the finance world. There's a lot of money being made there, and they don't like disruption. So quite naturally, we see the SEC going after this ICO. T.I., the rapper, was actually caught up in this as well. And it looks like they're getting him for selling unregistered securities. So we'll take a quick peek at that. First article, though, for today. I'm so sick of hearing about this guy, Wright. He's like that one kid in high school that was lame and no one really wanted him around. He was like a pest. This is what Wright is to the crypto community. Though I said I defended him in the whole delisting of his coin on Binance. We shouldn't be delisting coins because of a person's actions. It should be based solely on the criteria you set for it to be added to the exchange. So I didn't like to see that censorship type thing go on with BSV. But I'm telling you, I can't stand this guy. But anyway, it looks like Wright has filed a copyright registration for the Bitcoin white paper and the early Bitcoin code with the U.S. Copyright Office. He's just a pest, man. He is so lame. This is lame as hell. On a better note, Ron Paul, he's been quoted recently saying that Bitcoin's ban won't stop the dollar from self-destructing, and he couldn't be more correct on that. I guess he was kind of alluding to Congressman Brad Sherman for calling out for an outright ban on Bitcoin. I didn't cover this story because I thought it was not even a necessary thing for us to do, but I'm definitely going to cover Ron Paul. I really admired Ron Paul because even when he was a congressman, because he was really trying to think outside of the box. Really, he was one of the people, I think he may have been the one person that was looking to have the Fed audited. He was just always doing stuff outside of the box. But what many of you may not know is that back in the day, Ron Paul had a cryptocurrency. It was called Ron Paul coin, and it was back in the early 1.0 days. I remember the Ron Paul coin. I think I may have had some for a hot minute, and that's what I mean by him being a forward thinker, being a visionary. He jumped on the whole cryptocurrency bandwagon well before most did. I saw this, and I always want to cover when Ron Paul speaks about crypto. So we'll take a look at this article that talks about what the former congressman, Dr. Ron Paul, recently said about cryptos and all that. I think this is at the Consensus Conference in New York. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at that heat map. We are looking kind of a green day today. We're back above 8,000. Bitcoin is trying hard to break above the 8,400 area. As you can see, though, it's got lower highs on that last move up. We didn't break above. So let's see what happens at this point. But we're up 3.2% on Bitcoin. EOS is up 2.4%. Bitcoin Cash is up 5.4%. And let's look at, I'm going to show you this. Bitcoin SV up. Bitcoin SV up 45%. Was up almost 100%, I believe, at one point. All because of Wright going after the Bitcoin white paper and trying to copyright that. I think he has some serious mental issues. Like I'm very convinced at this point. I'm very convinced. So there you have it. SV people, I'm sure, are happy. I still think I was short at this point. If I were able to, I would short BSV. But yeah, that's where we are with things today. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first quick pick out of Cointelegraph. And it says the U.S. courts claim rapper T.I. sold unregistered securities in the FLiK ICO. It says Atlanta Division of the United States District Court of the Northern District of Georgia claims in an order published on May 20th on Twitter by lawyer Stephen Pally that rapper T.I., real name Clifford Harris, sold unregistered securities in his FLiK's initial coin offering. According to the document published by Pally, although the FLiK token had additional functionality such as granting access to events, the token holders were promised profits from the work of the company. Harris's business partner Ryan Felton allegedly said on social media, FLiK tokens will be redeemable for $3.99 in 3 months, $9.99 in 12 months, and $14.99 in 15 months. This represents tremendous growth in 1 year. Still, according to Pally, the court noted that there is a problem since claims for unregistered sale of securities have to be brought to the court within a year after the violation under federal law. Pally also said the merits still have to be litigated. And Cointelegraph also reported at the time that T.I. had been sued for $5 million by a group of people after the FLiK token reportedly failed in November of last year. So we'll see what happens, man. This is this is interesting. It looks like he'll be able to get off on this one because the filing has to happen within 1 year. Let's see what happens with that. I just thought that was interesting. That caught my attention. Seeing T.I. wrapped up in an ICO legal battle. We know DJ Khaled and Floyd Mayweather also were wrapped up in a few ICOs. One that I was really interested in and used the product of was Centra. I'm not sure exactly what happened with those lawsuits, but yeah, that's crazy. So let's take a look at the first article for today, and that is out of the Bitcoinist. It's about Ron Paul and him saying that Bitcoin ban won't stop dollar from self-destructing. He ain't lied about that. The former presidential candidate Ron Paul says that a Bitcoin ban is highly unlikely and that the dollar's demise is inevitable. Former U.S. Congressman Dr. Ron Paul recently attended the Crypto Consensus Conference in New York as a guest of the Digital Asset Policy Network. During his visit, the retired politician and godfather of the modern right-wing libertarian movement spoke about the death of the dollar and Bitcoin's growth as a disruptive and sovereign asset. I just have to commend Ron Paul. I think he's like 83 years old and he's still doing his thing, man. He's still flying around speaking, and that's how I want to be when I get to that age. Speaking in an interview with Bitcoin Magazine, Dr. Paul stated that he wasn't technically minded but has been fascinated by Bitcoin, its market action and wild price swings. He added that Bitcoin offers an alternative to the current financial system and that he strongly advocates a free marketplace. It goes on to say here, earlier this month, Congressman Brad Sherman called for an outright ban on Bitcoin, stating at the time, "I look for colleagues to join with me in introducing a bill to outlaw cryptocurrency purchases by Americans so that we can nip this in the bud, in part because an awful lot of our international power comes from the fact that the dollar is the standard unit of international finance and transactions." Well, he got one thing right. That's very true. You know, the only reason we are still in power is because of that dollar. But unfortunately, banning Bitcoin, he doesn't understand at all the technical part of this whole thing. It doesn't, just because you ban some on-ramps here in the United States, yes, that will greatly affect the demand for purchasing Bitcoin, but it will be very easy to still get Bitcoin, you know. So it's you can't ban it. You can't ban it at all. You can attempt to, but it's actually only going to make the demand for it go up, in my opinion. When questioned about this, Ron Paul simply replied that Sherman doesn't have the clout since he's over the top, and that a Bitcoin ban is highly unlikely. He added that Congress in general had less interest in Bitcoin and that they haven't really thought it through. When asked about the validity of Sherman's crypto threat to the dollar argument, Dr. Paul said, "That tells you a lot. He's speaking from the deep state establishment, military people, and everyone else in the banking system. He's representing their position that you don't mess with the dollar. But I don't worry about that because the dollar is going to self-destruct. In his book back in 2009 called In the Fed, Ron Paul referred to the dollar as a ticking time bomb, so was asked if crypto could be seen as a hedge in times of market volatility. He replied that citizens should be allowed to have a hedge. For years, Americans were not allowed to own gold under something called the Gold Reserve Act. With an ever more tumultuous foreign policy, another massive financial crisis such as the 2008 crash could be around the corner. The trust in the dollar has allowed the bubble to get bigger and bigger. It's held together for a long time, and that's just going to make the crash even worse, he said. That's very true. When asked about volatility and devaluation of the dollar, Ron Paul replied, stating that the dollar is also volatile, adding, how many people really want to use it versus how fast they're printing the money. Since the gold standard was removed in 1971, the purchasing power of the dollar has plummeted. Bitcoin's volatility was attributed to the fact that it is a new form of money that will have its ups and downs. Banning it is not the answer. So here's a chart that shows, I love this piece right here. I've seen this before. Just illustrates the value that has been lost with $1 since 1913 when the Federal Reserve was actually created. Right after the creation of the Federal Reserve, you see that drop down to 50 cents. That's crazy. So then we got back up to 80 cents around 1933. But ever since 1933, guys, it's just been a very bad drop in the value of our dollar, our purchasing power. Ron Paul also added that cryptocurrencies need regulation, but who would be the regulators? Since the depression of the U.S. financial system has been regulated, but that did not prevent the massive crash a decade ago. Finally, Ron Paul added that there appear to be a lot of confidence in Bitcoin for people to buy it, but the number of buyers is also important. It is millions of people or just a few whales. When asked if he held any Bitcoin, he said no, though the Ron Paul Foundation will accept. So there you have it with that. I'm actually surprised that he doesn't have any Bitcoin. That's interesting. I wonder if he still has any of his Ron Paul coin. That was funny. Shout out to anybody. Let me know in the comments below if you remember the Ron Paul coin, all those OG crypto heads out there. Give me some love. He's telling the truth. I do disagree with him on Bitcoin needing regulation. It's self-regulated. As we see with the halving coming up, it's all programmable. It's smart money. You know, you don't need anyone to regulate when a halving occurs. It's in the protocol. It happens automatically. So we need to start thinking in that manner, like let code be the regulator. But other than that, I totally agree with Ron Paul. Brad Sherman, oh my God. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's telling the truth. He is telling the truth. Bitcoin is a threat to the dollar standard. Absolutely it is. But not directly as money. It's more so a threat as an asset, a safe haven, right? People will flee instead of to the dollar, as Wall Street typically does, and they're gonna do this go around too, I think. When the next crash comes, they're going to go fleeing to dollars. That's just what happens. But after going to dollars, guess what? Some of that money is going to trickle over to Bitcoin. And just a little bit will be huge. Will have a huge impact in the price of Bitcoin. So again, let me know your thoughts about Ron Paul. Do you agree with everything he's saying here in this article? Or are there some points that you disagree with? I'm pretty surprised, again, that he does not own any Bitcoin. Very shocked, actually. So let's take a look at this next article out of CCN. And it says here, Wright registers Bitcoin white paper copyright as creator Satoshi Nakamoto. Oh my God. Wright has filed a copyright registration for the Bitcoin white paper and the early Bitcoin code with the U.S. Copyright Office. It's the latest step in Wright's battle to prove he is Bitcoin's creator and the man behind the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. Since 2015, Wright, chief scientist of Inchain and proponent of Bitcoin SV, has repeatedly claimed he is the creator of the world's largest cryptocurrency, but has been unable to provide hard evidence. So this guy on Twitter said that Craig filed a copyright registration for the Bitcoin white paper. Wow, this was put out this morning. He was recently asked to provide a list of Bitcoin addresses by a U.S. court to back up his claims a request he compiled with, but the addresses were redacted on public release. Wright has filed copyright registrations for the Bitcoin white paper and most of 0.1 version of Bitcoin's early software. Below are the 2 registrations in full. So it just kind of goes through this. U.S. copyright registration number, effective date April 11, 2019, for the paper entitled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, with year of completion 2008. The registration recognizes the author as Craight Wright using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. And there's also a U.S. copyright for the computer program entitled Bitcoin. That's for April 13, 2019. That's when that was filed and effective, with the year of completion 2009 and date of first publication January 3rd, 2009. The registration recognizes the author as Craight Wright using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. Wright wrote most of the version 0.1 of the Bitcoin client software, and the registration covers the portions he authored. However, as the executive director of Coin Center, Jerry Brito, points out, anyone can register a copy claim. Is not necessarily proof of ownership or recognition by the U.S. Copyright Office itself. He's so stupid, man. This guy is crazy, people. Despite the registration filing, many in the crypto community will still have their doubts about the validity. Numerous Bitcoin industry giants have slammed Wright as a fraud and labeled him fake Toshi. CZ put out a tweet on April, 14th of 2019. He says, "Masterpiece, you have my full support, Peter." Talking about Peter McCormick. "To be clear, I don't choose sides on technology. You clearly did, CZ, by kicking BSV off of your exchange." But he said, "We let markets do that. I'm against fraud, such as lying to be someone. As such, it is my strong opinion that Craight Wright is a fraud." Wright filed a libel lawsuit against Bitcoin podcaster Peter McCormick, seeking damages of $130,000. He also took aim at Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin and threatened to reveal the identity of crypto influencer Hodlnaut. The community kicked back, with Binance CEO CZ delisting Wright's Bitcoin SV from the exchange, which I was not in support of. The copyright registration will act as new ammo for Wright to support his claim to the Satoshi name. Man, this guy is crazy. I don't care. And this is the crazy thing, because I giggle inside when I see like corporations go and file patents on certain blockchain technologies and stuff like that. They fail to realize what this paradigm is all about. Like, they're trying to take what this technology is and roll it back into the old way of doing things. Like, in this new space, there are no copyrights. It's decentralized, autonomous architectures and network. There's no room for copyright or patents or anything like that. You just use the protocol and build on top of it. And so it's just funny that he's going out trying to copyright this. What does this actually mean? This means nothing, in my opinion. As the guy said on Twitter, you doing a filing means absolutely nothing. So I'm not understanding what this guy is doing. It's such a lame ass move, and just makes me not like him even more. But you guys, give me your thoughts on Satoshi Nakamoto and this guy Craight Wright. Also, let me know your thoughts on Ron Paul's comments about Bitcoin being banned, and if it can be banned, and how the dollar is still doomed. It's still going to zeros at 5 cents. It's 5 cents. It's lost 95% of its value since 1913. Amazing. Amazing. But that's it for today, ladies and gents. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And shout out to my man Bo Hoffman again for that song request. Too Short, Getting It. You guys better get it while the getting is good. It's your boy Crypto Blood. That's my 2 Satoshis. I'm out of here, people. How? But I still keep making these funky sounds.